James in Ottawa, go ahead. You're on CFRA, James.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I want to speak to people, and I know there's a lot of them, and they're really bright and nice and intelligent people, but who believe in the kind of nothing to hide, nothing to fear. And I think that's kind of the central point, in a way, of your question.
Right. If I'm not doing anything wrong, then who cares if the government is spying on me?
Right. And I like to speak directly to that. And this has been, I think this is a really serious point, an important point. Democracy doesn't really have that much to do with voting for people. That has more to do with three foxes and deciding on what's going to be for dinner. 3 foxes and a chicken, right? Voting on dinner. What democracy is about is the actual nature and structure of institutions of state, right? And that those institutions of state must be nonpartisan. Like, for example, the military. The military must not represent or reflect the ideology of a given political party. It has to reflect the constitution and laws of a geopolitical entity like a state, right? And when you look at what totalitarian leaders do, they change out the generals of the army, like Turkey did and like Chavez on Venezuela did. As soon as they achieve power, they change out the top members of the military and replace them with people that are ideologically in line with them and their party, right? Now, you look at what just happened in the States. It's absolutely a matter of record now that the Obama administration fine-tuned the Internal Revenue Service to target people that had views different than him or his party, right? People who were conservative, people who were members of the Tea Party, people who were supported Israel, for example, suddenly found themselves subject to really serious scrutiny by the IRS, and it was disrupted their lives.
Whether that direction came right from the Oval Office,
it doesn't matter.
Who knows?
It doesn't matter if it came right. Okay, fair enough. But the point is that institution was tuned away from being like an organization which, and therefore...
It became politicized.
It became politicized.
Yeah.
And that makes it no longer democratic because it's central. It's central to democracy that the institutions of state are nonpartisan and fulfill the role for which they were created, irrespective of who's applying, right? So in that way, then people should think, no, wait a minute, what I may have an opinion. I personally happen to like Harper. I think Harper is the best prime minister that we've had for a really long time, and it would probably take another 20 or 30 years of Harper to, if he was behaved consistently, to undo the damage that Trudeau did. That's my personal opinion. However, I still don't want the government snooping into my private stuff, into things that I'm legally allowed to keep private, because for all I know, an opinion could change, and they could go use that information to make my life very, very difficult, even though I may not have done anything wrong. But because I'm no longer ideologically in line with the people that happen to have an office that has that kind of power, it's not acceptable, and everybody together from all sides of these issues have to fight this. And I can give you an example, even in the case of these jihadis, right? How this is a problem. It's because of these kinds of powers that the government and various government agencies are able to preserve a very dangerous illusion. And the illusion is that the problem is not from Islam, whether you want to call it extremist Islam or whatever, it doesn't matter. We could have that debate another time. But if you saw the actual press conference by the RCMP, it was like watching some kind of surreal Soviet Union Politburo kind of thing where these people were getting up and they were, I was watching the questions, and to their credit, even the CBC would say, well, you say Al-Qaeda, but like, what ideology is that? Like, what was the motive?
Oh, it's Presbyterian, sir.
Pardon me? Exactly. And it was comical to watch these. It was comical to watch the press conference and the question and answer even more so, because they were tap dancing around, avoiding the obvious.
We're running a bit short on time here. We've got 2 losers living in a basement apartment in Victoria, British Columbia, and some supercomputer somewhere gets wind that they want to blow up pressure cookers on the 1st of July, Canada Day, and wound or kill as many infidels as they possibly can. And the only way that we have managed to find out this information is because of this massive data collection system that we've installed post 9/11. Do those ends justify the means?
I think your premise is wrong. It's not the only way. Here's another way you could do it. You could go every single person for a very long time now that has tried to commit an act like this. It's not criminal. They have either belonged to a mosque, they've recently converted to Islam, and they have...
belonging to a mosque is not criminal, right?
No, I'm not suggesting it is, but I'm saying you can look at the demography of the people that are doing this and the ideology behind it. Let me ask you this. If it was sometime during, before or during World War II, and suddenly a couple of losers living in their mom's basement suddenly joined the Nazi Party, started goose-stepping around and chanting, their Juden aus Raten, would you start watching them and recognize that there's a very good chance that these guys might be attacking a target that the Nazis would consider a target-rich environment? I mean, the point is that because we've taken this massive power to do it from the circuitous method where we watch everybody, we're giving ourselves the luxury of ignoring the ideology. And while we may have had a short-term win, it guarantees a long-term loss because we don't have the resources to approach it that way.
So the short-term win is we prevented an attack in Victoria, British Columbia. The long-term, we won the battle. The long-term loss is the erosion of liberty.
And the loss, and losing the war, by the way. And losing the war, because every time we ignore the motive ideology behind this, we are incrementally giving up stuff by being terrorized, by saying, okay, well, will you stop doing that if we agree not to criticize your religion? Will you stop doing that if we go back on our rules about not allowing religion in school? We'll let your religion in schools, but nobody else's. So Christians can't have prayer meetings in the public high schools, but you guys can. Will you stop doing this stuff if we just concede that all the food, we won't tell really everybody, but the food will be prepared?
All right, James, we're getting a way down the road here. So I'm going to end it there. I have one more call I want to fit in before the news. Thank you for your call, though, James. Very insightful.